Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Healthy Enterprise Podcast. Thank you for joining me again today. If this is a return visit for you, and if it's your first time, then welcome. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'm going to be talking to Kim Cremers. She's a licensed pharmacist, executive coach, facilitator, trainer, and mentor in the pharma and biotech space. With over 25 years of experience in medical affairs, she has led teams and worked across a wide range of therapeutic areas. Kim is all about creating meaningful conversations between industry and healthcare professionals, and as founder and CEO at Petrichor Medical Affairs Consulting, she brings a real passion for coaching and making a difference. So let's start our conversation with Kim. Hello, Kim. How are you today? Thank you for joining me for this episode. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Heath. I appreciate the invitation.
For starters, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and your current role right now and the area of expertise that you have?
Yeah, so I'm a pharmacist by training, and I've spent the bulk of my career in the pharmaceutical industry with a left turn to do some work with Doctors Without Borders in the middle of that. As a pharmacist in the pharmaceutical industry, I've spent my time on the medical side. So if you think about research and development and you focus on the development side, between development and sales, there's a very thick line. And there's a group called medical affairs at the end of development that contextualizes the data from the clinical development process. And we contextualize that to make it meaningful to speak to healthcare professionals about our products and our diseases. And that's where I spent the bulk of my career. A few years back, I decided to go out on my own and consult back into the business and work with people who are interested in careers in the industry and optimizing the impact they have through their work in the industry.
Okay, so your company is called Petrichor, correct?
It is.
Tell me about that name.
So I picked Petrichor because Petrichor is a smell in the forest after it rains. And when I think about that, I'm an outdoors person. I love to hike. I love to be outdoors. And when I think about rain in the forest, I think about growth, fresh thinking. And that's what I wanted to pull into my business is no matter what kind of work I'm doing, it's really about reassessing, maybe taking some different approaches to things through a fresh look, a fresh lens into the way the work is being done or the way that you're approaching your work or the work that you're doing fundamentally.
I didn't know that's what that was called. I didn't even know that had a name. The smell after rain in the forest is called Petrichor. I did not know that.
Yeah, maybe it was risky to name my business that, but I do spend a lot of time describing what Petrichor is. So thanks for the question.
Actually, that's a really good thing because that gives you an opportunity. They'll never forget. I'll never forget your business name now. So, and every time I walk through the forest in the rain, I will think of your business. So there you go.
Mission accomplished.
There you go. So, okay. So excellent. So and now who are your clients? Like who do you work with on a daily basis?
The great thing about being a consultant is there are a variety of clients that I work with. So right now I'm teaching and facilitating conversations and coaching with pharmaceutical leaders taking a Harvard Medical School executive education course. So that's been a lot of fun, facilitating the content that's developed by Harvard and having great discussions with these leaders about how indeed they can apply that information, challenges that they're facing within the organization related to that information, and certainly in the geopolitical environment that we're in. It's a complex time.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. I also like to work with pharmacy students. A lot of when you think of a pharmacist, you think of the retail setting, you think of maybe being in the hospital and talking to a pharmacist at that point of your healthcare. But there's a lot of work that is done to bring medications to the market through the pharmaceutical industry. And what I find is that students in graduate school aren't aware of the various career opportunities that are in the pharmaceutical industry. So I really like talking to students about this opportunity. And even if they're not interested in working in the pharmaceutical industry, the classes that I have over the semester, they learn where drugs come from. And I think as a pharmacist, it's really important to have good, solid confidence in the medications, the way they were developed, the data that's generated, and then to better understand how we can help our patients.
Is that a big question? Where do drugs come from?
It can be a bit of a question. It's really interesting to me.
I've never actually thought of that question. Where do drugs come from?
Wow. But it is a complex process. And what I find is that because perhaps the media picks up on the negative things that happen in the industry, that people
Mm-hmm.
lose confidence in the amount of work and energy that's put into bringing a drug to market. We tend to focus on the cost of a drug,
Yeah.
perhaps more so than the value that a drug can bring to our patients. And value is a much bigger question and point than just the cost of that drug. So it's fun to debunk any myths that perhaps the pharmacy students have regarding the industry, and that we're the big bad wolf, if you will. And they leave the class better understanding, again, where drugs come from, the complexity of
Mm-hmm.
bringing it to market, how we work with the FDA throughout the process. So it's a lot of fun to see them have aha moments about the process, and then gain more confidence again as a pharmacist, if that's what they choose to do, is to go into a practice
Sure.
to work with those medications and be able to describe the safety and the efficacy trials that brought that drug to market.
Mm. Yeah, that's important. So I mean, pharmacists are typically, they face the patients and they speak their front line. They speak to the patients. They speak to the end user, and often have to field a lot of questions, I would imagine. So, and you actually spent some time in that role too, earlier on in your career.
I did. I worked as a clinical pharmacist in a hospital. So a pharmacist that would round with doctors, discussing therapies, side effects, ways to manage side effects. I say that the pharmacists that are working frontline retail are really the warriors of our industry. They get so many questions. They work with such a large volume. I've never had that job as a practicing pharmacist, and I think they have a lot of courage. And I really respect that part of the profession, because they are at the front lines.
What are you finding to be some of the biggest challenges right now in your industry?
That's a good question. I think there are sort of big ones and there are small ones. The
Mm-hmm.
geopolitical environment, a lot of changes at the CDC and the FDA and research dollars. I think those are really impacting not only academia, but the industry, as well as just our environment in general. I think on a smaller scale, some simple things like working remotely. How do you engage your team? How do you lead your team on a remote environment? I spent about half my career working remotely prior to the pandemic, because I had a territory, or I was managing a territory,
Mm,
or a region of the country, with a
right.
lot of individuals. And so I think really digging deeper on our leadership skills, recognizing maybe where we need to optimize our work. I don't want to say improve. I just want to say optimize our teamwork and our leadership skills. I think that is a pretty big challenge right now.
Yeah, that I imagine that would be. What other areas are you seeing that need more improvement, and how can you do that, do you think?
Yeah. So I think one of the challenges that we have is efficiency. It takes a lot of time to bring a drug to market. So how can we use AI? And that's a big question mark, right? How can we bring our drugs to market faster with using AI and optimizing the use with, and again, humans are not going away. I think humans oversight and critical thinking is really important to any work that we
Mm-hmm.
do with AI. But how can we get medications identified, or molecules or assets that are valuable identified sooner? That will decrease cost, and that will help our healthcare environment in general, the healthcare ecosystem. How can we get information out, accurate, readable, understandable information out to our
Mm-hmm.
physicians, our healthcare providers, our nurses, our pharmacists, and our patients in a meaningful way that provides them enough of what they need to know without overwhelming them, and using a language that's meaningful to those various audiences. And I think AI can help us with that.
Is there AI happening in that at that phase yet, in regulatory or FDA?
I think we're
Are they
putting
actually utilizing AI right now?
Yeah, I think we're putting our toe in the water in that. I think when I talk to the executive leaders through the program that I work with Harvard, they're each at a different place. We don't have strong regulations around it yet. Patient data and patient confidentiality is so important. That confidence, that trust that they have with us. So, and true informed consent. We need to make sure that patients know how their data is going to be used. And so, with that said, AI can be managed in a small way, I think, right now. And I see
Mm-hmm.
companies and people using it different ways. But the couple examples I gave are ways that we are definitely focusing on in the industry.
You at some point in your career, you chose to go independent, start your own consultancy. Um, at what point did you do that? And what was the motivation? What kind of inspired you to do that? Did you always think you had this entrepreneurial spirit in you?
Absolutely not. I never thought I'd be an entrepreneur. Not at
Thanks
all.
for thanks for being honest.
Oh, I'm honest to a fault, I think. No, so I never thought I'd be out on my own, but I did take a deep breath and decided that I wanted to spend time doing the things that I love to do. One of them is volunteering, helping others. And so I was able to take a deep breath, spend some time traveling, which is really important to me. All of those travel experiences, living abroad, working with Doctors Without Borders, working in the pharmaceutical industry with lots of different types of individuals and lots of different settings has really made me appreciate sort of the humanness that we each have. And so being out on my own as a consultant, it's allowed me to do things that I really like to do. I get to teach at a couple different universities. I get to teach with Harvard. I'm a coach now, an executive coach, which is really invigorating to see people have their aha moment, have a conversation, reflect on what they're most interested in doing, how they're going to approach a conversation. And then on the other side of that conversation, seeing the success based on the discussion that we had or the approach that the individual came up with after me asking them some provocative questions. So I have the opportunity to do what I like to do, and I'm enjoying that a lot.
All right, let's talk about the executive coach thing too, because it's fun to actually get close to an executive and give them an opportunity to open up, isn't it? And because they don't always have those opportunities, or maybe feel like they're in a safe space to do that. Is that right?
Yeah, no, it's so important to build that trust and have a safe space. It's really interesting. Mentoring that we often think about is when you're working with somebody who has experience in your space and can say, "Oh, I ran into that problem. Let me help you through it," or "This is how I handled it."
There's relatability.
Yes.
Thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So you really need someone who's in your space. What's different with a coach, and almost better if the coach isn't in your space, is that they're not coming in as an expert. They don't know how to end the story.
Right.
They're asking provocative questions that helps you reflect on the context, because of course, as an individual, you know so much more about the context than the coach ever would. So asking provocative questions, setting goals, making strides towards those goals, holding you accountable for those goals. But we're not, as a coach, we're not setting those goals. We're providing a framework for you to consider what good looks like and how you could get there.
And give me an idea of some of the challenges that executives are facing right now. And are you mainly speaking with executives in healthcare and pharmacy?
Yeah, so I would say that's true. The people that are that I'm working with as coaches are at all different levels within the pharmaceutical industry. I think my favorite individuals are those that either want to become a leader. So often you hear, "Well, you've never managed before, you can't manage." Okay, well, let's work on that. How do I solve that problem, right? So people that want to be leaders and manage people, and perhaps how they can use their current role as an influencer across and negotiating across with other teams. We all have leadership responsibilities in all of our roles for sure. And then leaders that are new in their role. I think those individuals are so passionate about what they want. They're willing to invest the time and the energy and the reflection to determine maybe how they can optimize or how they should approach a situation or could approach a situation. And with a coach helping them gain clarity and confidence about the approach that they've determined. So I think we're in a time when people are expecting different things out of work now than maybe they were 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And so as a leader, I think it's more challenging to meet everyone's expectations and to deliver in a meaningful way to each individual, and not in just this is the approach I'm going to take, hope you like it kind of a situation. I think a coach can help you get to that individualized approach.
Yeah, rather than a blanket approach. Yeah, more specific. So what kinds of things, give a little insight onto it. What kind of major challenges do some executives approach you about, and how do you dive into that? How do you kind of open that up?
Yeah. So I've talked to a couple of people recently that were looking at career changes
Mm,
and
that would
considering,
be a big one. Yeah.
yeah, right? Like, what do I
Yeah.
want to really do? Do I want to go out on my own, as we just discussed I did? How can I make the biggest impact in a meaningful way? I like to think that people get to work in the morning and really want to have an impact, and they really want to make a difference. I work with individuals that have a responsibility to make a difference for patients. And so sometimes you get bogged down in the red tape or the process and don't feel that direct impact of your work. And so often people are at a crossroads. Do I continue to go where I'm going? Do I need to switch functions perhaps? Or do I want to take a leadership role where I can feel like I have a more broad impact on patients? Or do I just want to take all the experiences that I gained over the years that I've worked in the pharmaceutical industry and take them out on my own and really focus, like I have, on the things that I enjoy doing?
That's great. That's really good. And that component is part of Petrichor, that the business coaching,
It
executive
is.
coaching. Yeah.
Yeah. Petrichor kind of has a broad umbrella, but all of it ties into mentoring and coaching, whether that's,
Hmm.
again, the students, executive leaders. I also work with a group that I'm their medical consultant in a tech company, and they have
Oh,
great tools, but it's also interesting to understand the difference between sort of the regulations within pharma and other industries. And so I kind of bring them back to reality as to what we can and can't do and how we can and can't approach that work.
oh, so you know how to speak tech.
Well, I'm learning, isn't it? Always an evolution, right? And the tech changes
Yeah.
so quickly, I've got to be on my
Yeah.
toes. So they're great. They're patient with me and use small words when they're outlining the technology that they're doing. And
Well, I
happens the
bet you have your
acronyms.
own big words that you can throw on the table too, that they can't even pronounce probably. But
Yeah. And we all have our own acronyms, and sometimes the same acronym means something very different in a different space. So
something in
that's always a
tech,
hoot.
something in medicine. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your favorite part of that? The tech? Is it just sort of getting to know what kind of innovation is happening out there? Or?
I think it's really humbling. I don't
Yeah.
know what I don't know. And I think over the years I've learned that I might know a lot about what I know, but there are so many layers to this world that I really don't know anything about. I go to a tax guy for my taxes. I go to a financial guy for my finances, leaving it in the hands of professionals, right? So asking the right questions, understanding what their end goal is, and then navigating there together, respecting that we each have a different expertise that we're bringing to the table has been a lot of fun.
So was that something you went out and looked for, or was that something that someone came to you and said, "Hey, Kim, would you be interested in doing this?"
Yeah, I would say I found it. I think I'm really just trying to be super open minded to where my skills can provide value.
Hmm.
And so, I think I applied to an opportunity that I saw on LinkedIn, and somehow they hired me, even though I'm not a tech person. And perhaps that's the value I bring, is I am so far away from tech that that they thought that would make the end user experience better.
Well, I think that's what you mean, even going back to your talking about your coaching with executives, is that sometimes we just need a contrasting perspective, right? From our, we have an issue or a problem to solve and we need a solution, and having someone with a similar insight may not give us a much of a varied response or a varied opinion about it. So having somebody who is completely removed can come in and objectively ask a question, that maybe they've never even thought of.
I think what you're describing is sort of seeing the forest through the trees, right? You're so in it, your head is so far down into this problem, and everybody you're talking to's head is into the problem too. Whereas when you're talking to a coach, we don't know the dynamics. We only know what you've told us. And even that's, it's really about you contemplating and working through and reflecting on questions, because as an outsider, we may ask what we think to be a basic question that
Right.
unlocks the key to the aha moment that helps you determine the path forward. So it's actually quite interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, that would be. And I love that you use the forest analogy again, helping them see the forest for the trees. And then at the end, they get to experience the lovely smell of rain after the cleanse of a forest in the forest. So
And see the growth that
Petrichor.
occurs once that
There you
happens.
go.
Once
Well
that
thought
happens.
through brand brand expression there.
I love it. I love it. One of the other things I'm going to just say that I find executives struggling with right now is really even executives struggle with the imposter syndrome a bit,
Oh,
as well as being dismissed in meetings. Like, and I'm not going to even say it's women versus men. It's just, it seems to be that people have ideas. And so often we're moving so fast and people don't acknowledge or consider the idea. And one of the things I'm trying to do personally is just slow down a bit, because I make more mistakes, whatever that looks like, when I move fast. Whereas when I slow down and really take a time to listen to what someone said, to consider why they said it, it's just very interesting. So as I'm navigating with executives, it surprises me that they struggle being heard, and feeling like they're bringing an outcome to the table, and that they're performing at the level they want to perform at. Very interesting.
do you think that in that world, and sometimes most times there's a lot of pressure at some of those tables. There's a lot of expectations and demands. And so living kind of in a state of alert kind of removes our ability to kind of view things in that, like you just said, that quiet, thoughtful moment where you feel like you have the time to actually hear what someone is saying. And like you said, consider why they're saying it or why they're asking that. That's a really good point. I don't know if a lot of people really take that beat, to say, why is that person asking me this question?
What's the
I don't
question
think,
behind the question, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I work with a great executive coach who I've known for many years, and he talks about weight. Like, why am I talking? Two ears, one mouth, right? Like, why listening? And that's one of the great values of having a coach, is they're dedicated. They're very present during that conversation, and allows you to slow down and have the conversation and sort of investigate whatever this issue or this challenge or whatever's bugging you, if you will, in a devoted amount of time. That time could be 30 minutes. That time for some coaches an hour and a half, but it's this routine engagement that lets you develop this trusting relationship and bring, whether that's a big lofty goal of, I want to be CEO in a year, how am I working towards that? Or I've got this really big meeting tomorrow and I need a pinch hit, and address the issues, that whatever the issue is, can you help me prepare for that? So it can be a short-term goal or a longer term goal. But it's that trusted relationship that helps you get to where you want to be.
That's interesting. Glad you said that, because I was going to ask you, when does a person know, they need a coach? Like, when does that? What is the moment that says to them, "I'm not doing that. I can't do this. I need some help, and I got to go ask somebody." Have you had any sort of insight as to when that moment actually occurs, or is it at a moment of crisis? Is it the 911 call, or what is it?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. I want to say when but I think you probably know after you needed the coach. I think
Mm,
you it's an investment to have a coach, and maybe your company is willing to make that investment for you. But it's a small investment when it comes to your salary and the importance of making an impact in the work that you do, or
right.
potentially, losing your position because of maybe taking a misstep, right? So when do they know? I would say maybe it's a suggestion by some. Sometimes a 360, evaluation with your peers, your management, and your subordinates. Identify that maybe you're sort of missing the mark. Maybe it's a performance evaluation
Mm,
that indicates that maybe you're not delivering the results that are needed. And maybe it's just a self-reflection, which I don't know that we do enough. Just take a
hmm.
step back instead of saying, oh, it's because of the environment I'm in, or how am I contributing to that? Because I think we can all optimize our approach, and we can kvetch to our friends and our spouses, but
Sure.
and we tend to lean to the people who think the way we think. So maybe
Yeah.
a coach, when you start to do that and you see you're not getting the results that you want, that's when to talk to a coach and make that time available.
Maybe there's a little bit of hesitant too, in the sense that it might come with some stigma, or like, I can't handle this role, or, or reveals a weakness.
Nobody needs to know. You can just have this trusted
It's
relationship
a
with your coach. Nobody needs to
confidants
know.
between
Yeah.
the two, right?
Yeah. And I would just also want to clarify that coaching isn't therapy. There's a place and a
No.
time for that. And those are professionals that have different training and can provide amazing value. And I might even argue everybody should have a therapist, but that's perhaps another conversation, not my expertise by any stretch. But having a mentor and networking and having a coach is so important to
Mm-hmm.
your career trajectory. You never know who you're going to talk to on a plane or through a LinkedIn connection or through a friend of a friend that has the perfect job that you didn't even know existed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good point. That's a really good point. Because that, particularly for somebody who is actually thinking of a career change.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
Very
when I look at what your goal is, you want to deliver actionable strategies, innovative solutions, and human-centered insights to help you grow, lead, and make a lasting impact. And what better defines that than understanding what your value is, where you can have an impact, what is the right environment for you to thrive and just not survive. We spend way too much much time at work to just survive. We should be thriving. That should be our goal.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we all spend way too much time in survival mode.
Yeah. And I don't think
maybe
that's
you're
all
right.
that helpful.
More of us need therapists.
If our healthcare system could accommodate that, wouldn't that be ideal?
Yeah, no kidding. All right, that's interesting. I don't know why I'm very interested in the coaching aspect. It's very interesting. So what other areas of your work do you like to spend a lot of time on?
That's a good question. I think it's the aha moments, right? And helping people find that aha moment, and making those connections. So I can give examples of where, one coaching session, somebody's like, I never thought of it that way. I am so empowered to go into work tomorrow to have that conversation. Personal development when you're, in pharma, I'm not going to say we force people to do personal development, but it's a very much a big expectation for each individual. And it's so fun to work with an individual who wants maybe that next role or wants two roles past that, wants your job, wants your boss's job, whatever that is. But to see them develop a plan, move towards that plan, and see the success of their actions and their work and the investment. It's also very valuable to find out when someone doesn't want the job that they thought they wanted because of reflection, conversations, coffees with individuals that work in that role, and then see that, ooh, that wasn't what I thought it was. Maybe I should go a different direction. And that's just as valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Are there certain signs that some people should or could be aware of where maybe it's time to start considering, when you're talking about coaching, but you're also talking about career coaching as well, right? Because you can kind of define your coaching into different categories, but when is there signs or symptoms when it should be, well, maybe you need to start looking at another career? Because sometimes we kind of are blinded by our own, well, I can't get another job. This is where I'm at. I've capped out, but I'm going to stick that out because I've only got, 8 years left and I'm going to retire. But, is there a point where it's like, yeah, there's any time you can make it a change anytime, but is there a sign or symptoms where maybe, a person should be looking at some career coaching?
That's interesting. I was talking to a leader this morning who was talking about when he would look at his phone at night and see a message or see the phone ring or see a text message come in. And he was like, oh, I don't want to answer that. And then he was talking about when he would get ready for work in the morning and go, oh, I don't want to go to work today. This isn't going to be fun. And that was his sign that maybe he had stayed in a job too long and it was time to reassess where he was and where he wanted to be.
And at that stage, you were able to kind of help that person make the right decisions and give them a bit of a process as to how to make that exit happen and move on to the next thing. That's cool. That'd be great. Very valuable for some people.
And I think it's that confidence that we talked about, right? Can I find a new job? Can I find a job at the level I want? Do I have the skills to stretch? I think there's studies out there that say men are more willing to apply to a job that they could stretch to, whereas women doubt themselves in applying to jobs that they might not meet, they only meet 9 out of 10 criteria, and they're not
Right.
willing or not able to see how they could evolve in the other criteria for the job.
Right.
Lack of self-confidence. So I do think that plays a part into career changes as well. But I think being open-minded and just understanding that we're bringing value in our own special way. I can give an example. I really like to volunteer. It's been something I've done all my life. And I was working at a pharmaceutical company and because of my volunteering, I decided to volunteer as a pharmacist and did Doctors Without Borders. I didn't know how to be a pharmacist for Doctors Without Borders. I certainly got some training. I was predicting medication needs for 6 months from now or 9 months from now when there would be a monsoon. And now we're in a drought. So what medications might look different when there's a monsoon versus a drought? So you think malaria, you think stagnant water, you think of respiratory tract infections,
Right.
and all of those things that you're thinking about for a country you've never been to. So taking that leap and taking that risk and having confidence that it's going to work out, and that you've got the skills to navigate, and the critical thinking that it's going to take to navigate a completely new environment. We can all do it. Getting a little uncomfortable is where you thrive and where you grow the most.
Yeah, that discomfort area, that's where, we don't want to go, but it's really where we grow.
Absolutely.
And we fire new neurons, we create new experiences, and we see more about ourselves than we possibly imagined.
Sounds like you're speaking from experience.
Yes. You never know what you're capable of until you're presented with the challenge that forces you to find things about yourself that you've never seen and put it into action. So
whether you wanted to or not.
Yeah, exactly. You said something earlier about it was connected to that. It was like being able to recognize or see something when it's apparent to you, but it's not obvious. You know it exists, but it's not obvious. And it takes somebody to come along and go, but what about this? And as soon as someone actually points it out, it's kind of like, wow, yeah, you're right. I've been thinking about that and I've seen that, but I needed a bit of a push.
I can give a great example of that. One of the students in the pharmacy grad school class I was teaching talked about dropping out of pharmacy school. He had said, I'm not really moved to work clinically, either in retail or a hospital setting. I really like big data. And I was like, fantastic. Big data, pharma. And he works at the FDA now. He graduated successfully with his doctor of pharmacy degree. And he works at the FDA. Who's better suited to handle big data than a pharmacist who loves big data? Now, would that be my skill? Probably not. Leave it in the hands of the professionals, right? But, it's when someone is vulnerable enough to say, I don't know where I fit, and have those conversations, network, talk to friends, friends, use your network, risk a conversation, risk reaching out to someone on LinkedIn. And then folks on LinkedIn, risk answering those questions. 30 minutes of your day, you probably can do that. But ask the questions and you'd be surprised how great those answers are, and that you just might find something that really helps you thrive in your career again, rather than surviving. And what a mistake it would have been for that individual to leave pharmacy school after a couple of years when, where would he go? He didn't know what to do next. So
right.
I think it was a great conversation, and I appreciated his vulnerability with bringing his concerns forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So you help executives coach them through their challenges. How about you? You're a freelancer now, and you run your own company. It comes with its own challenges. What have you been presented with as far as challenges, and how did you overcome those?
That's a great question. So I've never started a business before, and I am all about using resources that are available to me. Listening, I really worked on my listening, right? So when somebody gives me a piece of advice, use this type of system for, I don't know, bills or invoices. Use these resources like SCORE is great for starting new businesses. Being open-minded about, well, I don't know much about tech, but let me see. I know a lot about medical. Let me see if I can provide them advice. So sort of saying yes. I know that's probably a cliche at this point, but just, you know what? I can learn new things. And this coaching, formally getting certified to do this, is a new adventure for me, an investment in myself, and something I've really, really enjoyed. And it just makes so much sense. So I think leaning on my resources, saying yes, taking risks, and just being okay that some things aren't going to work and other things will. And one of the, I think, most important things about my entire career, whether it's Doctors Without Borders or starting a new business, is about being flexible. You don't know what's around the corner. And if I had written down what I thought I'd be doing in June of 2025, it probably wouldn't be what I'm doing today. But at the end of the day, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. And I'm taking advantage of the time I have off to enjoy the things I enjoy doing in my free time, like being outside or other volunteer activities.
That's great. And is there someone that you turn to when you kind of hit a wall and go, what do I do about this? Do you have a mentor that you work with?
I do. I have an executive coach mentor that I've known for more than 20 years, and he's a great friend, but a great confidant and a coach. And he seems to know me really well, and he's offered a lot of ideas on things that he thinks I would thrive in. And in one case, it didn't work. In another case, it's been great. So it's after a little investment of time, it's just really fun to navigate somewhere that you never thought you'd be before, which for me is being an entrepreneur. So I really like it. It affords me the opportunity, again, to do some volunteering that I do. I do respite care for kiddos, and that allows me, working part-time, allows me to leave space in my world to help the little ones when they need a few days of a safe home.
That's care. Nice. Yeah, that's great. What was it about coaching specifically that attracted you? What was it about you and your values and your character that drew you to that?
I think it was a natural progression. So I've done a lot of training over the years in the pharmaceutical industry. I've led teams. I've mentored people. And when it was recommended by my friend to look into coaching, it just fell into place. It just made so much sense. It feels like it was always there, but formally learning the framework and the process and how to help individuals meet their goals, have an impact or a bigger impact in their work or their life, their personal or their professional life. It's just been a lot of fun. I would say it's not something I would have designed again, but it fell into place very naturally.
You said this earlier, that one of your values is, making the world a better place, right? And, I think you even said it's a bit of a cliche, but that is kind of the core of your belief, is that you want to do things to help people and ultimately make their world a better place. And in reflection, it'll make the entire world a better place. So do you kind of, that is a really strong value for you, isn't it?
It is. It's one of my core values: authenticity, integrity, communication. Even the tough stuff has to be communicated. But there's nothing more fulfilling to me than seeing someone having a conversation with someone and them having that aha moment that I am enough, that I can do this, that I know exactly how I'm going to approach this. It was all in my head. You just, help me with those provocative questions, find the path forward. That there's nothing better than that. That's energizing for days to come. And it just had some of those conversations over the last few days. And I can't tell you, I just fly high when I hear that somebody has learned something about themselves through a conversation, just by listening and really being present to what they're sharing.
Well, I can see it. I'm already inspired myself. So I think I need to hire you as my coach so I can go.
Very good, Heath. Let's sign up.
Okay.
But when you name your company Petrichor and you're talking about growth and fresh thinking, you sort of have to grow and think freshly, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm holding myself to that standard.
Yeah, that's really good. Did you came up with the name on your own and the brand and everything?
I did. I think it was a Facebook meme where I saw what Petrichor meant, and I was like, that means so much to me. And when you're naming a business, You spend a lot of time contemplating. Am I going to use my name? Am I going to use my space?
Oh, you can get obsessed about that for sure.
It can be. I came up with a couple ideas, but I kept coming back to Petrichor, even though it's a long word and hard to spell and people aren't familiar with it. It does start conversation, but it also fits well with me, my personality, and where I want to go with my business and help the world, I suppose.
Now, you do a bit of speaking too, hey?
I do. I enjoy sharing what I know with others. And I like the smaller environment, sort of a classroom when they have to be there, right?
Right.
But yeah, I do. I enjoy speaking as well.
That's great. That's really great. And how do people find you? If they're looking to find a coach or get you to do some speaking or even take on any of your other services that you offer, how are they supposed to reach you?
The easiest way to find me is Petrichor MA, which is medicalaffairsconsulting.com. So Petrichor MA Consulting. So that is, there's a contact form there. I think my phone number is there too, if anybody wants to reach out.
And of course, on LinkedIn.
And of course on LinkedIn. Yes.
Excellent. Well, is there anything else you want to leave us with? Any final thoughts, any resources to share, or anything we haven't covered that you want to chat about?
Yeah. You know what I'm going to say is coaching can be expensive and maybe it's not an investment that people are ready to make right now. Or perhaps if their company isn't able to sponsor them. One of the books I read in the last year that I thought was really meaningful was Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck. I don't make commission on it, so I'm not trying to sell her book, but it's really
I've read it.
Have you read it?
I've read it.
Loved it.
It's brilliant.
It's so simple. End your sentences with yet. You know, I'm never going to play in the NBA and I'm okay with that. Like perhaps that's a fixed mindset that I have. So the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, but I'm not good. I'm not an optimal coach yet, right? Like I can be better at this. I need to practice and I'm not good at something yet. And adding that to the end of a sentence is so freeing and liberating to try anything new. I was really moved by that book last year. And I think that's some of the reasons I've had the success that I have over the past year with my work.
Yeah, I read it earlier this year, I think, too. And it was just, for me, it was like taking that, not containing myself within the structures of the words I say, you know, and kind of busting that box open and going, yeah, why would I limit myself by saying this phrase or this sentence? Just like you said, adding yet. I forgot about that one, but that's what I take away was like, I would contain myself with my words, which are basically rooted in our beliefs. So, amazing. Yeah, it was a great book. That's cool that you read that too.
Yeah, it's great that you feel the same way about it. When I look at the examples of the people who she demonstrates has a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset, think, which group do I want to play with? Like, which group do I want to be in? And it's the Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey group that, you know, finds obstacles. Like, you know, again, I think the best success story is Michael Jordan. He didn't make his team, right? And so he went back out, practiced more. And then we all know how that story ended. And, you know, amazing basketball player. And so when I look at demonstrated behavior, the people I want to play with have a growth mindset. So I'm glad you were moved by that book too.
Yeah, me too. I like playing with those people too.
Well,
it's a fun sandbox.
It is a fun sandbox to play in, isn't it?
Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Kim, for joining me today on this episode. I think you provided a lot of value to people who hopefully are looking to get some coaching done. And I think you're going to give them a lot of insight. So thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your time.
Great. Thank you so much for the invitation and the conversation.
Okay. So from Kim's journey as a pharmacist to coach and consultant, she shared the power of fresh thinking and how embracing that growth mindset can really lead to transformation, whether it's navigating imposter syndrome, which we're all too familiar with, adapting to change, or finding those aha moments. Her insight reminded me of that personal growth and professional success really go hand in hand. Maybe it's your time for coaching. Maybe it's my time for coaching. We'll see. Thank you for joining me today, and please stay healthy, and we'll see you next time.